The reality is that the AI, as of probably the next 6 months or so, will be able to do a better 6 to 12 months, shall we say, will be able to do a better job than you can in almost all jobs that are KVM, keyboard video mouse related. And the way those go isn't necessarily quick, but it can be sudden.
So that's Emad Mostaque, the founder and former CEO of Stability AI, the makers of Stable Diffusion. I've covered his interviews before, and as usual, he's not sugarcoating anything. This time, he's saying capitalism itself won't survive AI. Most jobs are about to vanish, and the entire system could collapse as soon as next year. It's one of his most brutal takes yet, so let's just dive right in. Alright, so one of the first things they talk about is the rising intelligence of these AI models. They're getting smarter fast, and as a result, more capable in the real world. And it seems the more compute you throw at them, the more you speed up this process. That's why we're seeing trillions of dollars pouring into AI right now, and why Emad thinks this is going to fundamentally disrupt the entire economy. Check this out.
So when you look at the mathematics of that and you project it out, what is it telling you about where we're going economically?
So when we look at the mathematics and where we're going, from this particular perspective, it shows us basically that we're a bit screwed because you have different types of entities organizing, but the ones that can map and predict the best are the AIs. Recently, this week, we've seen AIs go from like 20 minutes of thinking time to 200 minutes and more. And they're getting more and more capable, and this is the takeoff year for that. The human capacity for optimizing and adapting to the environment is capped by our brains, whereas AI, we can just scale almost infinitely. You can have multiple agents, which can now think for arbitrarily long periods of time. You can do almost any cognitive labor. And what we found is that human cognitive labor doesn't go to zero in value, it actually goes negative, which intuitively is true. If you're
Because
in a
we will come to the wrong conclusion.
because we're the weakest member of the team. If you have AI that's constantly learning, adapting, and can think for arbitrary periods of time and can scale its cognition and check each other's work, then you're the weakest link on the team. Just like, again, that person who's the least intelligent is the weakest link on your team. And so how do you compete against economies that are AI almost entirely? The AI will outcompete you. And so we see this lack of balance, particularly when it comes to things like capital accumulation, what the objective function is. And then it comes to mind, what are we actually measuring? What is the kind of meaning behind this? Because our current measurements are a bit wonky. Like some of the examples I
Specifically
use,
GDP.
GDP. Again, Stan Kuznets, who came up with GDP, actually went in front of Senate and said, this is the wrong measurement. Cancer is good for GDP and it makes it go up. Solving and curing cancer is bad for GDP. It's like looking at just one particular type of capital. And what our equation showed us was that there's actually four distinct types of capital. And so when we look at that, we see a history whereby you're going through almost the final, what we call great inversion, which we can discuss in a minute, where the AIs will outcompete us. And we have to start measuring things differently. And then we have to think about the way money and other things flow differently if we're going to thrive in what's coming.
So yeah, as artificial intelligence becomes abundant and ever more powerful, human intelligence gets pushed to the side. Not only will this fundamentally change our concept of work, but it will also fundamentally change the social contract. And Emad says it all starts with the middle class knowledge workers. Check this out.
Generally, it's this change in the social contracts. Like jobs classically were about your income, identity, community, purpose, and a bit of structure. And you need to have that progress. There's, again, that Japanese concept of ikigai, some people on this may have heard of. Do what you like, do what you're good at, and do where you believe you're adding value and other people do too. And in the middle of that is happiness. What does that look like? What does that progress look like at a individual, this is my career level, through to what is the social contract of America? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, Like, these have all been changing as we've moved into this kind of surveillance capitalism type of thing where your attention is being captured. where you don't have the career progression. Inflation and high property prices are part of that. But too many people are like, what do we believe in? And this comes at a time where we used to think that AI would be for the low-level tasks, right? But all of a sudden, it's a better lawyer, clearly, than most paralegals. It's a better doctor and diagnostician. And, we managed to get above doctor-level performance on a Raspberry Pi, which is crazy.
Wild.
We were like, how does that even work? That's $400,000 like career almost gone for the diagnostician part. Intelligence will become abundant. And if you look at America, what's America now? Is it an industrialized society? Is it China building massive amounts of it? No, America is it's a services-based economy. It's an intelligence-based economy at a time when the cost of intelligence is going to zero almost, and the value of human intelligence would probably turn negative. So that argues against the middle class, because the middle class is mostly knowledge workers. Like the white collar jobs will last a bit longer because you can't build enough robots. But what's going to happen in that middle America? This is a real question, right? And I think that it's particularly scary because COVID was kind of a precursor to this, whereby we had to stay at home. We had to do everything from the other side of our keyboard, video, mouse. Now people get back into the office, But the reality is that the AI, as of probably the next 6 months or so, will be able to do a better, 12 months, shall we say, will be able to do a better job than you can in almost all jobs that are KVM, keyboard, video, mouse related. And the way those go isn't necessarily quick, but it can be sudden. One economic shock, like what's GDP growth now? It's clear we were in a recession last year. We might have another one coming. People start laying off, but they never rehire. And what are you going to reskill to? Like, I'm puzzled. People are still saying, learn programming. Like, in a few years' time, why would you need to program? Anyone here can go to replit.com right now and code up a basic, actually quite cool application that runs on your smartphone just by talking to it. And it'll go away, and in a day, you'll have something. Is it amazing? Not quite yet, but it will be.
So if AI can really do most white-collar jobs better than us in the next year, then the obvious question is, what do we do with all those people? I mean, how can we reskill them if every other KVM job is taken? Naturally, people bring up UBI, Universal Basic Income, as the temporary fix for this. Basically as a safety net if work disappears suddenly, especially for large groups of people. But Emad says it's not that simple.
Every single company in the world that's a knowledge company is going to be asking the same question in a year from now. Do I need that human and all the liabilities that come with them? When I can hire an AI at pennies that never complains, that gets the work done at a better level than the human. And I can't tell it's not a human on the other side of the screen. And for me, that's a recipe for massive unrest like we've never seen before, because how do you ban that as a government? Should you be banning that as a government? Governments are in a race where they're trying to embrace this technology right now. But the new jobs of the future, if there are new jobs, aren't going to come at that time. Capital itself will disappear. Like, what's the value of a media franchise? It's its network effects and other things like that, when you can create brand new franchises almost on the fly in a year or two. What's the value of a New York taxi medallion when you have Teslas auto driving for a few dollars, I mean, this is why quite bullish blockchain. But at the same time, like, you got this cognitive surplus coming, and I can't see how that's not going to be massively disruptive, because you're going to have to go there. And this happens at a time when a lot of people are talking about things like UBI. If we gave every American $16,000 of UBI, which is poverty level, that's $5 trillion a year. The total tax, it's basic math, right? Do you know what the total tax base of America is?
Yes, less than that.
It's $5 trillion.
Isn't it like 4.46 or something? I mean, I think
it's like 4.9. It's 4.9. So it costs 5 and it's 4.9. Total income tax receipts are 3.8. Total corporation tax receipts of all the companies in America are about 0.9 trillion. And it's going to cost 5 trillion if we give everyone UBI. So it's like, you're going to go through this period now whereby you can't give jobs or pay for everyone to even have poverty level support, especially at a time when you're maxed your debt already in America and other countries. And jobs are just going to go and they're not going to come back. And is the government going to force it? Ironically, the safest jobs are probably those like San Francisco MTA $400,000 a year public sector jobs, because they don't rely on like, efficiency or anything like that. They'll be the last to go.
So yeah, if UBI isn't a viable option, then what are we left with? Well, no one really knows what's coming for sure, but what does appear to be clear is that capitalism won't survive this. We are literally entering into something new. Something entirely different.
Okay, let me ask point blank. Do you think capitalism survives the AI transition?
No. I mean, what's the definition of capitalism?
Strictly speaking?
Yeah.
I can give you a colloquial definition, the aggregation of capital to build something that is a self-sustaining economic engine.
Yeah. Will AI be able to do that better than humans?
Yes.
Capitalism as it is going to be great for AIs. But how are we going to compete? Again, how do you compete with entities that are strictly smarter than you? And this is without getting to AGI or ASI or anything like that, that learn perfectly from their mistakes, never sleep. You can't tell it's an AI on the other side of the screen. I don't see how. Again, they'll figure out the micro to the macro better than we can, allocate capital better. I mean, let's take a practical example you know a lot about, Tom. Launching a protein bar. How long did that process take? And how long do you think it's going to take in a couple of years to do it end to end, calling all the suppliers, arranging all the contracts, etc.? It took years. Whereas you'll be able to spin up 1 million agents hitting the exact niche, doing A/B testing, doing all the supply contracts and other things remotely, probably within like months, And that's only because of this human bits stopping it. All the thinking that you had to do, the AI will probably do in less than a day. And so again, I think capitalism doesn't survive for humans. And the AI will accumulate more and more capital because there's no way we can outcompete them.
So that's his key point. Capitalism won't survive for humans. It's not that capitalism itself is broken. It's that right now, it's only humans playing the game. But once you add in millions of AI agents that can work faster, cheaper, and scale infinitely, it's basically like switching on God mode for whoever controls them. So now, this is where they get into the potential real solutions, or at least ideas. Emad says we need to redesign money entirely, not just how it's spent, but how it's created and how it flows through society. He points to something kind of like UBI, but with a twist. Check this out.
Why do we have to change the way that money circulates in the economy?
Because with the advent of AI, capital needed labor. That was the classical linkage. I need to hire people in order to make my capital more capital. Kind of this was Karl Marx's thing, MCM dash, where money leads to labor for commodities, which leads to more money effectively. And then you've got that circle, which you call the exploitation. And again, we've got some analysis of what that looks like in this mathematical framework on the flows of money. AI will make that even crazier because the capital no longer needs labor. I don't need to hire my graduates. I don't need to train them up anymore. I can comparatively outcompete people with companies that are majority AI or entirely AI. So where does labor get capital? And it can come from only a couple of sources. You've got your handouts, right? You've got your unemployment benefits. Or it can come from monetary creation. And again, this is some of the UBI things, whereby what if we change the nature of where money is actually created? Because then the AI will be buying money from the humans. So it's a different type of UBI from the taxation-based UBI. But this is where, again, we need to really understand what monetary flows look like, how money flows in our economy, and where it should flow in a few years, when the number of jobs that we have classically is going to do that. And the new jobs of the future, I'm not sure exactly what they'll be. And I've not really heard anyone tell me what they will be either. So I couldn't figure out another way to have it other than monetary creation go for being human.
So yeah, he's basically saying money has to be re-engineered from the ground up if humans want any chance at surviving what's coming. And it's not just talk. Emad's actually been pushing this idea through something he calls the Intelligent Internet, a cryptocurrency project that is basically meant to capture this new way of creating and flowing money that he's describing. Now, it's not out just yet, it's still being worked on, but definitely something we're going to be keeping a very close eye on. But all of this still leaves one big question. When? We know that KVM jobs are gone in the next 6 months to a year. But when does AI actually break capitalism? According to Emad, shockingly, very soon. Take a look.
What we have is we have inevitabilities, and we're just making bets on what cracks first, right? And again, the key inevitability and way of thinking for me is just this. Like, I had this concept of AI Atlantis, 1 million graduates coming in, but now they're senior managers. When you try something like these very long-range models that can work for hours, and you're like, if there was an AI that could do the job and not make mistakes on the other side of the screen, and I couldn't tell it was an AI, that's when you realize the ridiculous impact of this. Again, jobs like public sector jobs, where it isn't about performance, will be the last to go. But if you're a private sector owner, employee, you'll have your job until there's some sort of displacement activity, until the competitor starts embracing AI. And then they're like, why aren't we embracing AI? And then you start having job losses. But when that happens, it doesn't happen in one sector at a time. It's like, again, all the COVID, KVM, remote jobs suddenly start letting go at the same time. And this is why the gap between measured unemployment or jobless figures and then revisions are just going to go like that all of a sudden. And that's next year for me. Because I can't, well, I mean, how can it not be in the next year or two? But then the pockets of the economy that impact will be different. Like when you have an Optimus, what does it look like for truck drivers in America, which is like 2 million jobs? The freaking Tesla Optimus will just get in to the truck and truck it around. You don't even need the legs, so it'll be half priced, you know? Like nothing else needs to be installed. It'll just drive, right? So we see these waves coming. And again, like, what do you reskill to? I'm not sure. You can just be ahead of the wave. You can try and surf the wave. That's the only thing you can do.
Woof.
So yeah, the next year or two is crazy. Emad's been warning about this for a while, but in this interview, it feels different. There's more of a sense of urgency. His timelines are shorter, and it feels like we're right on the edge of something big. Are you guys getting the same feeling? Or do you think he's just shilling his upcoming crypto coin? Either way, there's definitely some truth in what he's saying. And timelines aside, a lot of this just feels inevitable. Anyways, if there's anything to take away from this breakdown, it's that AI isn't just coming for our jobs, it's coming for the whole system. If you want to stay ahead of the curve and be able to react first, make sure to hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and as always, I'll be catching you guys in the next one.